I think it's dumb when men are intimidated, like if their girlfriend or prospective partner out-earns them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I literally think that the majority of that, in almost all instances, unless someone can think of an example, is going to trace back to insecurity and like.
I mean, if he's conscious about it, yeah, that's pretty insecure. I mean, if you're like consciously saying like, I don't want to date a woman that makes more than me.
Well, I wouldn't say it's insecure. I'd say that's just his innate instinct to want to provide for his woman, and it's emasculating him.
Just let her finish.
It's emasculating to feel like you're not being the one providing for her. I wouldn't say that's a wrong thing to do. Is want to make more.
Because I'm like even if it was just a little bit more, and he's still like saying like, no, I have to be the breadwinner. Totally, like the fact that you make $3,000 a year more than me is like a no. It's like a no-go. That's messed up to me.
It's not clear if it's because of intimidation. I don't think men are intimidated by women who are successful or by women who make a lot of money.
My ex
if they're not willing to date them just because they make too. Well, what is it about then?
My ex was definitely.
It's typically more so. It's less about the actual money and more about like perhaps if you become hyper successful in business, that typically means cultivating certain personality traits that may not necessarily be conducive in a relationship. Like for example, a woman who's a lawyer, which I think good for you, fantastic. However, in order to be a lawyer, you're probably going to be someone who's temperamentally disagreeable. You have to be disagreeable. You're probably going to be a bit more in your masculine. You're going to be to some degree argumentative. And I don't think that certainly, I mean, look, certainly a male lawyer can be argumentative too in a relationship, although typically I'll save that for later. But I mean, you're going to adapt certain more masculine traits, and most men probably don't want to date like hyper masculine women and quarrelsome women. So.
But that's silly because they're looking at the income and they're seeing it as a proxy for all of those like perceived negative traits. And if that's like kind of an automatic no, like she can't be earning more than me because I know for sure she's going to adopt those like masculine traits and I'm not going to like that. That's what I'm criticizing. It's like, whether it's intimidation, insecurity, like just that kind of like ick factor is silly to me. Because until you get into it, until you know for sure that like, yeah, this person out-earns me, and I think part of the reason that they out-earn me is because they have these like dominant characteristics that I don't really vibe with, then that's fair because I guess you gave them a chance. But to just be biased out from the start and disqualify them as like, no, I could never be with someone who out-earns, that's silly to me.
Well, he wants to provide for his woman. And he doesn't have the power if she's out-earning him.
Yeah, that's intimidation to me.
Well, the man's supposed to have that sort of power, that type of power in the relationship. That's like instinctual.
If that's what they want and they, I guess, deny themselves the opportunity to date somebody just on that basis alone, it's silly to me.
But we even have women who've come on the show, and I've seen examples of this, women who are successful high earners, but they still consider themselves traditional women. Mm-hmm. But the sort of traditional order of things typically was the man's the breadwinner, the woman, maybe she has a side, whatever, like a small thing, but he's the breadwinner and she takes care of the internal household. So you have these hyper successful women who make a lot of money, but they still look to the man to fall into his traditional roles when it comes to being a leader, perhaps being dominant and being masculine in the relationship. But that can potentially cause conflicts.
So what if she out-earns you just by a little bit, but she is like submissive and docile in like every other respect, and he still says, no, I'm not going to do it because I think maybe it'll lead to it, or like for sure just no? Would you say that that's intimidation or insecurity?
I don't think it has anything to do with intimidation or insecurity. I think what men often find is women who are hyper-focused on their career typically tend to adopt character traits, which are perhaps not always, but
I said
are
out-earns,
not
not like rich. Just out-earns. Because she could be out-earning him at like a blue-collar job. Like if she's a nurse and he is a teacher, she might make slightly more. But that doesn't mean she's like grinding or whatever. It just means she's like,
well, those
that
men,
pays more.
I think we can both acknowledge though that there are men who are probably totally fine with and who have no issue with their dating a woman who makes more money than they do.
Yeah, and I think that's like based. If they don't see that as an issue or as like an immediate like preference that they need to disqualify a woman for dating, then I think that's a good mindset.
And me personally, like I would not be intimidated by a girl who earns more than me. However, it could very well be the case that, again, not all women, but it could be the case if she does out earn me, then she's hyper focused on her career. She might have adopted certain personality traits that I don't want in a partner. So it's not about being intimidated. I'm just not attracted to like really hyper masculine women. So, but I agree with you. There can be super feminine women, but they're just killing it, and they're able to sort of compartmentalize to some degree between their relationships and their career.
Would you be comfortable with it if your partner out earned you significantly?
Me personally, I wouldn't care, but
would you judge a man for, like, I guess, looking at that as a metric to try to predict?
That's fine. And this, I think men can, because there's a huge cohort of women who want men to also be providers, and they don't want to contribute equally to the household income. So just in the same way that women are allowed to have that preference, men, certainly the men who don't want to date women who earn more than them, they ought to date women who earn less or who want to be stay-at-home wives. Like, it's just it seems to me like it's a mismatch of values. Those men probably tend to lean traditional. I think the issue is you have women who are these hyper successful boss babe types, yet in their relationship they still want the guy to be the leader. They want the guy to take initiative, do all these things. But in order for your man to be a leader, you need to be a follower, and I think a lot of women don't want to be followers in their relationship. Yet they desire traits, they desire leadership traits, but they don't want to be a follower.
Yes.
Do you think that, like, the boss babe types are the types who want a man to still be a leader? Or do you think they're completely fine
I
being
would
the
argue
one in the relationship that kind of like wears the pants, so to speak?
I don't think typically like women are, I mean, even really successful women, they actually probably want even more masculine men to almost have to, like, they're super masculine, so they have to like get someone who's super masculine, I guess. I don't know.
To like level it out.
Yeah.
I guess it's just weird. Like, I look at, women that I went to school with, or like friends of, like, I have 2 friends that are in law school right now, and like the idea that they would ever like struggle to find a partner, even with like all of their success, even if they're still demonstrating that like disability. I'm just saying, I think if that was the reason why they were having trouble, it would be silly to me.
It's not, I mean, it's, a woman's career doesn't make her more attractive to a guy. Like your success, your money does not make you more attractive to men.